So first and foremost, we've got a pan here of boiling water. I'm fortunate to have one of these little net things to catch my Trofie. And what I'm going to do is add, it may seem a lot, but a whole load of salt inside there. The salt's going to help enhance the flavour of the Trofie itself, but it's not going to be a salty dish. So don't worry too much about that. It'll also keep the different pastas separated. We're then going to put a pan on. And I'm going to shove a little bit of olive oil in there, keep that on a low light, and what we're going to do is we're going to chop up our Trofie into nice small cubes, and we're going to try and get this to get a little translucent, and it's going to add a little bit of flavour to the whole dish. This is the only part of the dish that really gets cooked through at all. So let's just chop that down, and nice and simply chop that all up so you can see nice small pieces. And that's going to go in that pan, a little bit of olive oil. And we're going to do exactly the same with our garlic as well. I find a quick way of being able to do the garlic is just by rubbing it like this, and then all of a sudden all the skin comes off, which is nice and unique and simple. And then all we want to do with the garlic is once again just chop that down and then chop it up nice and slowly. Small chunks, and that's going to go in with our onions. It's always helpful if you have a spoon, so I'm just going to get one, and we're just going to give that a gentle stir. And let that slowly but surely come to a simmer. Okay, so it's always good to tidy up as you're going along. What we're going to do now is quickly make our pesto, and what we'll do there is we'll get a simple chopping device. We'll pop our walnuts inside there. We'll pop in some nice basil, nice fresh basil. It's the more basil you put in, clearly it's all down to taste, but I personally believe it's going to bring out lots and lots of flavour. Let's be honest, it's all about the pesto and it's all about the vegetables here. Add those in there. Okay. Then we want to drizzle in some olive oil. We'll probably add some more olive oil into that in a few moments. A little water. And a small amount of nutritional yeast. As you can see, nutritional yeast. It's quite nice. In fact, I'll add a little bit more olive oil to that. And then I'm going to blitz that, and we're going to come to that in a few seconds. And there we go. That's my slightly watery looking, but you'll see why it should be like that, my pesto. And I'm going to pop that back in here. You can see that lovely colour of green set inside there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare my vegetables. So I'm going to take one courgette and I'm just going to cut that down the middle and down the middle again. And then I'm simply going to chop down the centre like that. We kind of want them to be nice bite-sized pieces. This way, when I use the residual heat at the very, very end, it'll just gently warm up those vegetables so that you're, in effect, getting the warmth, but you're still getting the crunch that you require. So that's my courgette done. These are my pre-washed asparagus. Now remember, asparagus is a little woody, so you kind of want to get rid of the woody aspect of it. And you can tell that as soon as it breaks. That's how you know how woody your asparagus is. There we go. Let's get rid of that. And the same again with the asparagus. And there's some really large pieces of asparagus there. We kind of just want to chop that down so it's nice and small, so that when the residual heat hits it, it'll just gently warm it through. You can see I'm pushing all the vegetables together because what's going to happen is at the very, very end, these are all going to go in the same pan. Please remember, you know, there's different sizes of asparagus. If they're really thick ones like I've got here, cut them down a little bit further and then they'll be perfect for the residual heat. Now with the broccoli, I'm going to pull away a number of florets of broccoli that I'm going to add to this. I'm just going to give them a quick wash. Use a bit of purified water. I'm just going to chop these down so that once again they are small enough to be eaten just slightly warm. And this, you know, this is the preparation of this is the key bit, to be honest. The actual cooking time of it is very, very quick indeed, as you will see. Sort of getting closer to the time. Now, as you can see there as well, the water's boiling away. It's a good idea now for us to throw that Trofie in and start that clock ticking. So our Trofie's slowly but surely going to start boiling away. This is now going to start picking up some heat. Give it a little bit more heat there. And one of the nicest things to do is pop your peas. So I'm just going to get some nice little peas and have those put to one side. And those peas are going to go nice and crispy, stay nice and crispy during the course of the warming up of the Primavera. And the only other remaining item left is to quickly either de-seed. In this particular case, these are very, very, or they don't have a great deal of seeds, this particular type of tomato, so I'm not actually going to de-seed these. But if they're really large tomatoes, for instance, like a beef tomato, Although I don't recommend using a beef tomato, but if they're regular, so cherry tomatoes, because there's a lot of water in them, it's always a good idea to de-seed those. But as I say, in this particular case, I'm not going to de-seed these because there's no real need. And those are pre-washed, these tomatoes. So all I'm going to do is chop these down, just get a couple of them and chop them down. And that's all going to be ready then to go into the dish. And that's just going to add a little bit of colour, a little bit of flavour to the whole thing. So otherwise everything looks very green. And there we go. Voila. So the last thing is left is simply to make our to make our vegan parmesan, which is very, very simple once again. By the way, we'll put our pine nuts right at the very, very end. As you can see, they're starting to go quite translucent now, which is great. I'm just going to give this a gentle wipe because we don't really want wet parmesan. In fact, I'll use the other grinder here, and just get that quick down. And we're just going to put our almonds, our garlic salt, and that's pretty much it. A little bit of nutritional yeast goes in there. Roughly around about half a tablespoon nutritional yeast going inside, and I'll just quickly blitz that for a second and I'll show you what it looks like. There we go. So that's our vegan parmesan. I'll just get a little spoon. I'll pop that in a tray. That's our vegan parmesan done. There's a little few crunchy bits of almond there, but don't let that worry you too much. That's just down to my grinder. But as you can see, there's lots of lovely vegan parmesan there, ready to go on the top at the very end. Okay. So we're partway through the dish itself. We've got our onions and garlic gently sauteing here. And the smell is absolutely ridiculous. We have our Trofie over here. Keep checking your Trofie, making sure that it's going to be al dente. We'll just take a quick look. Best way of doing it, use that, but don't drop your spoon in there. It's not quite ready yet, so we're just going to wait for that, which always gives us an opportunity for an interlude. And the interlude is, get yourself a glass and get yourself a bottle of wine. And bearing in mind this dish is from Sardinia, I decided it'd be really a good idea to have a vermentino to go with this. So let me open this particular bowl of vermentino. So while we're waiting for all that to take place, we'll get ourselves a little taste of a little taste of sunshine. Bearing in mind today, in the centre of London, it's a pretty wet day. We've had a thunderstorm, so I think we deserve a little bit of sunshine. Sod's law, isn't it? When you want to try and get it to open, it won't open, but there you go. Who could ask for more? Feel like Floyd. Okay, so our Trofie is cooking really well. In the words of Gennaro Contaldo, I'm cooking so well. Here we go, let's taste that. So our Trofie is just bordering al dente, so any second now I'm going to be popping everything in. As you can see, our pan here is sizzling away. The onions and garlic are now translucent, which is exactly what we want, because the last thing you want is raw onion and raw garlic taste in this particular dish. I'm now going to switch off this particular pan. I'm also going to do something that is always a wise idea, and I'm going to get a little cup. In fact, I'll get an espresso cup. And I'm going to save a little bit of my water. I'm going to take some water out. And I'm going to save a little bit of my water. And the reason why I do this is purely because when we put all this together, it'll start thickening up. And we want to make sure it's got a little bit of a sauce. So here we go. Our Trofie is ready. We're now going to throw that in a second into this pan. But before we do that, I'm going to put in some pine nuts. I'm going to throw in my vegetables. And we have a lot of vegetables here. So when I said this is suitable for 4 people, it's probably suitable for 6 or 4 hungry people. And then my Trofie is going to go inside. I can switch the heat off there. I'm going to mix this up. And now I'm going to throw in my pesto, my walnut pesto. And I'm going to give that a stir. And as you can see, that's now thickening up nicely. And that lovely green colour is coming into play. I'm now going to just add a little bit of that lovely water that I put in before. And just let that sizzle on residual heat. Now as that's sizzling away, or slowly but surely cooking very, very lightly away with the residual heat, we're pretty much ready to plate our food. And off we go. So I'll just grab a little plate and just pop that onto the plate. It's nice and simple, nice and fresh. Add ourselves a little bit of our vegan Parmesan. A little good olive oil, so I always like using a cooking olive oil, but I like also using a really good olive oil. So in this case I have a nice olive oil that's got a lovely peppery taste, and a little sprinkle of that, and voila, Trofie alla Primavera.